Today is Wednesday, July 6th. We'll tell you some new details about what led up to the shooting at an Illinois parade and the history police had with the suspect. Also, new gun rules in certain states where the laws are getting more or less strict. Plus, the biggest American tech companies are facing new regulations in Europe, a historic first in the NHL. And a new study found some companies looking to boost employee productivity are going about it all wrong. Those stories and much more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. We start today with an update. Police are revealing more information about the mass shooting at a 4th of July parade in Illinois and the man they believe opened fire. The 21-year-old suspect is in custody and has been officially charged with murder this week. If convicted, he faces life in prison. Authorities say he killed 7 people, including an 88-year-old financial advisor, a preschool teacher, and a couple who was taking their toddler to the parade. More than 40 others between the ages of 8 and 85 were hurt in the attack. Investigators say the gunman acted alone, but had been planning the shooting for weeks. And on the 4th, they say he climbed a fire escape ladder to the roof of a building and fired upon the crowd dozens of times as the parade was in full swing. Investigators have interrogated the suspect, reviewed his social media posts that apparently included some graphic images, and talked to witnesses. And at this point, they believe the attack was random. But police have come in contact with the suspect before, like back in 2019, when they removed knives and a sword from his home because his family reported that he threatened to kill everyone. This time, officers say he was armed with 2 high-powered rifles that he bought legally. Local police and the FBI are still investigating. Yesterday, Vice President Kamala Harris visited the Chicago suburb where the shooting happened to offer her condolences. Meanwhile, memorials are starting to pop up around the crime scene. Children wrote in sidewalk chalk outside of the police department, "Thank you, first responders." And others are working to raise money to help survivors pay for medical costs. A separate Independence Day celebration ended in panic over the fear of another mass shooting. During Philadelphia's 4th of July concert and fireworks show, thousands of people scattered after hearing word of an active shooter. But investigators are still trying to figure out exactly what happened and who was behind it. This time, no one was killed or badly injured, and it's not clear if anyone was actually targeted. There's even the possibility these were celebratory gunshots. Still, the bullets did graze 2 police officers. They are expected to be okay. Now the Police Officers Union is offering a $20,000 reward to anyone with helpful information. It was just over a week ago that Congress passed the most significant gun reform in decades. Still, some critics say the new law does not go far enough. So now, different states are starting to pass their own new gun laws. Most recently, New Jersey. The state's governor signed new legislation yesterday that will require people get training before they can get a gun license. It will also outlaw certain high-caliber weapons and force gun owners to register any firearms they buy out of state, among other things. And last week, New York's governor signed even stricter legislation. That new state law defines certain sensitive locations like schools, bars and restaurants, parks and churches where guns will not be allowed. It also strengthens background checks, so people who want concealed carry licenses there will have to pass a firearm safety course, go through in-person interviews, and provide data from their social media accounts. Then there's California, where the state added new restrictions on so-called ghost guns that are untraceable since they don't have serial numbers. On the other hand, there are states relaxing gun laws like Maryland. There, the governor told state police to loosen the rules to get a concealed carry permit, so people will no longer have to demonstrate that they have a substantial reason to carry a gun in public. Remember, the U.S. Supreme Court decided laws like that were unconstitutional, violating the Second Amendment right to bear arms. For the first time in nearly 2 months now, the number of American kids with COVID-19 has gone up. The American Academy of Pediatrics and Children's Hospital Association put out a new report. It says nearly 76,000 children tested positive for the virus last week. That is way down since the peak of a winter surge earlier this year, but it is also higher than this same time last year. The report also points out that it's harder to compare these days, since so many people are taking at-home tests and not always submitting their positive results. So the numbers reported now may be lower than the reality. Also of note, hospitalizations are on the rise, but they're nowhere near the levels from earlier in the pandemic. All this comes as a new Omicron subvariant, BA.5, has become more dominant. The research is limited, but for now, it looks like that subvariant is more contagious, but no more severe than any other versions of COVID-19. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics and Children's Hospital Association are calling for more age-specific research. More than 50 years later, 4 Army veterans were honored for their bravery during the Vietnam War. President Biden awarded them with the Medal of Honor, the highest military honor there is, at a White House ceremony. For example, one honoree was Specialist Dennis Fuji, who rejected medical aid when his helicopter crashed and instead worked to treat other hurt soldiers. As President Biden put it yesterday, quote, "Time has not diminished their astounding bravery, their selflessness in putting the lives of others ahead of their own, and the gratitude that we as a nation owe them." We're talking endangered species, oil and gas prices, a Netflix record, and more news still ahead. But first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. Have you ever seen someone wearing a colorful, cute pair of flats? They might have been Rothy's. Whenever I wear my bright red Rothy's flats, which is quite often, people take notice and compliment them. So I ordered another black pair just to make sure I could truly wear my Rothy's flats with everything. But I love that I can always go back to Rothy's for more head-turning designs in bright yet sophisticated colors. No matter the color, these are the cutest and most comfortable flats I've ever come across. They're almost like wearing slippers, but of course, much more stylish. Plus, I love that Rothy's takes sustainability to the next level. All of their products are knit with thread made from plastic water bottles. So your new favorite shoes are waiting. Discover the versatile styles you can wear absolutely anywhere and get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's Rothys, ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy to get $20 off your first order. rothys.com/newsworthy. Hundreds of different types of animals are going to start getting more protections in the U.S. A federal judge in California threw out recent changes to the Endangered Species Act. Back in 2019, the rules were loosened, but environmental and conservation nonprofit groups sued over those changes, saying animals desperately need protection so they don't become extinct. And this week, the judge sided with them. That decision is a setback for some business groups, though, who have said stricter rules make it tough to start new construction, drilling, or mining. Now they say they're reviewing the ruling and asking the Biden administration to modernize the law with their concerns in mind. Meanwhile, conservation groups are asking President Biden to strengthen the law even more the other way. For the first time in nearly 2 months, crude oil prices have fallen below $100 a barrel. And that, of course, is a major turnaround from the soaring oil prices we've seen in recent months. Experts say it's a sign investors are getting more worried about a possible recession, because that would bring down economic activity overall and therefore could lead to less demand for oil. So how will this impact record high gas prices you pay at the pump? So far, at least, it's not having a big impact. There's still strong demand with the summer driving season underway now, so experts say gasoline retailers don't have much incentive at this point to drop the prices, at least not yet. The European Union passed landmark regulations affecting big tech, and these new rules in the EU could have a major impact on companies like Apple, Google, Meta, Amazon, and more. The European Parliament approved 2 new pieces of legislation with huge majorities. One is the Digital Services Act, or DSA. It's focused on content moderation, so companies will be required to do more to police their online platforms for illegal content, and it also bans certain targeted advertising. The other is the Digital Markets Act, or DMA. That's about preventing anti-competitive practices. If the companies violate the new rules, they could face massive fines. The European Commission has set up a task force to enforce the rules, but critics say it's not enough to really hold the companies accountable. Either way, there's still a formal adoption process to go through, but then the regulations are expected to start applying early next year. A man who has spent his life a hockey player, coach, and executive is now making history as general manager. Mike Grier was named the new GM of the San Jose Sharks, making him the first Black person to hold the position in NHL history. This is a big milestone for the league, where Black players make up a small minority of rosters and have few front office jobs. And Grier doesn't take it lightly. As he told the New York Times, quote, "My job is to do the best I can for the San Jose organization, and if I do that, hopefully it opens the door to other minorities to get in front office positions." Right away, his top focus is the NHL draft, which starts tomorrow. The most recent season of the popular show Stranger Things is setting new milestones for Netflix. The streaming service says people worldwide have watched more than 1.15 billion hours of it. That makes it the only English-language show to ever cross 1 billion hours. Overall, when you look at any language, it comes second only to the South Korean drama Squid Game. Stranger Things also hit #1 on Netflix's top 10 list in 93 different countries, another first for an English-language series. But really, we knew this season was going to be popular even before the latest stats were released. When the final 2 episodes of the season came out last week, the Netflix app crashed since so many fans rushed to see it right away. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a message from our sponsor. Finding and booking a doctor who's right for you doesn't need to be a terrible experience. Will they take your insurance, understand your needs, or be available when you can see them? With ZocDoc, the answer can be a refreshingly pain-free yes. No more wasting time tracking down your brother's cash-only chiropractor or the dentist your coworker recommended but who's actually out of your network. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. The verified patient reviews allow you to see what other real humans had to say about their visit. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, and I'm one of them. And now, so is the executive producer of this show, who recently said she had a great experience with ZocDoc. So whenever you need to find and book a doctor, go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Work Wednesday. Companies that want more productive, self-motivated workers might want to think about taking a more hands-off approach. A new study by Harvard Business Review looked at the impact of employee monitoring, things like video surveillance, keystroke tracking, GPS location tracking, and more. Well, researchers found when workers are monitored, they feel less responsible for their own actions. In this study, monitored employees were more likely to take unapproved breaks, disregard instructions, damage workplace property, steal office equipment, and work at a purposely slow pace. Researchers say there are ways to monitor employees that are actually effective, though. They suggest telling workers when surveillance is appropriate, when it's off limits, and what it will be used for. Also, study authors say any data collected should be anonymous and perhaps only done with employees' input about how it could be helpful to them, too. Either way, it seems monitoring is becoming a common practice, especially as more people are working from home. Study authors say sales for tools that track workers' activities have gone through the roof since 2020. Well, thank you so much for joining us as part of your daily routine. We will catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.